Jada Samuel, welcome to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast.
Thank you for having me. How are you, Jazz?
I am doing so well. I'm so glad that you are on today, and I know we're going to get into a lot of good stuff. So, real quick though, I've always wanted to know where pageant women get their clothes from. Y'all always look so cute and classy, and just like you have the business attire, but it's not like super like buttoned up. Like, what's your secret? What's the secrets?
Okay, so I think that I am a tad bit different because I do not shop with the intention of only wearing something for a pageant. I shop with the intention of it being a part of my wardrobe. And my personal style is very much so bold, solid colors. I'm not a Prince girl. And I also love a structured look. Like I love a pant, I love a blazer, I love a clean skirt, a clean A-line dress. I personally shop at Dillard's a lot because a lot of times I'm a last minute girl. I love the Gianni Beanie collection at Dillard's. I love Antonio
Hmm.
Milani at Dillard's. Let's see. If I'm online, I try to, I mean, there are some random places where I've gotten suits from before. I also believe in investing in a good suit. Every girl
Hmm.
deserves a good suit in the same way that every man deserves a good suit. So I have invested in a couple of really good suits that are custom from 831 Minlay, and she's based
Oh.
in Columbia, South Carolina, and makes pieces for Asia Wilson and Dawn Staley and like really cool people. So everybody should check out Minlay if you want to invest, because that part is an investment, but Dillard's not so much.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I am super familiar with Dillard's, so I got that one. And they do have some like hidden gems in Dillard's sometimes. You don't think about Dillard's these days, but like if you're from the South, yeah. I don't know if
Yeah,
Dillard's is like a national brand, but I know like I grew up going to Dillard's, so
yeah, I
they have
think
like
people
really
think
good.
about Macy's and department stores and like get the ick, but personally, I'm like the quality is amazing if you're gonna spend money on clothes. Like I know people love Aritzia and Zara; those are two of my like favorite go-tos. But
Mhm.
outside of that, if you're shopping in the mall, fast fashion is fast fashion. You might as well get something that's like really good quality if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, that's such a good advice. I'm gonna head to Dillard's this weekend.
Coincidentally.
Yeah, you always look so good. I was doing some research on you, of course. I was stalking you a little bit. But yeah, your outfits and your wardrobe, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, like I need her secret. Where's she getting her clothes from?"
I will
Because it
also say
she
my
looks
mom
great.
is my stylist. My mom is my stylist.
That's a really good It's a really good thing to have, just somebody that knows you and knows your body.
Yes, we're getting away from that now that I'm like after pageant. She styled me for pageants every year, like every single time I ever competed. Now, I mean, when it comes to my casual looks, she definitely doesn't style those. And my business looks, I would definitely say I have a style that leans into the masculine. Like I love a good shoulder pad, strong blazers. Those are things that I think she strays away from because 80s vibes. I don't
I was
think
just
she's
about to
like
say.
trying to bring those back.
Yeah, I was just about to say 80s. It's sounding some 80s. I mean, that might be a new trend. I mean, it's already probably a trend now.
I don't know. I don't do trends well.
I love this. So, I'm going to start out with well, after the clothing talk, a very just direct question. And maybe you've thought about this, maybe you haven't. But if everything that you've ever had was taken away from you, then who would Jada Samuel be?
Be the person that I am right now. um, for anyone listening who is a Christian, I have talked to some of my friends about going through a Job season where you feel like you've lost everything or you're in a new phase and it's like, what is next? And you're kind of like, hey, God, when are my blessings gonna come? So I feel like the person that I am now is the same exact person that I would be without anything else. I am so much more than my crown and the things that I've done through pageantry and outside of career things. So I think I would still be a giver. I would still be someone who is a connector and believes in connecting people to other amazing people and opportunities. And I would still be someone who believes in embracing authenticity and being a bridge for those who aren't necessarily thinking about other groups of people. So I think I would still be the same person.
That's beautiful. And I like the way you tied in your faith to that because I mean, things are taken away from people every day.
Yeah.
And if they don't have faith or hope or something that's guiding them, then it's going to be real tough to kind of, move forward. It's always, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, I should say. But
Yes.
I love that you are incorporating your faith. And I know faith is a huge part of who you are. So we might get into that a little later.
Yes.
So like I said, I've done my research on you and I've seen that you're a phenomenal speaker. Well, you know how to work a stage, girl. Let me tell you. I've seen some of your videos, I've seen your monologues, and you've maintained such a great confidence about you. That's one thing that I can say when I look at your videos. I'm like, she's confident, and it shows. Where does your confidence come from, and how have you maintained your confidence throughout your adulthood?
I'm first of all, thank you for saying that I, you know, possess a spirit of confidence because I think that confidence is one of those things that ebbs and flows every day. Some days you wake up and you're really confident, and then some days life hits you and you're just not so confident. So I am grateful that people get that from me. Because I'm not always 100% confident in who I am or what is happening in my world and space. But I do believe that my confidence comes from several places. One, my faith as a Christian. I am supposed to be confident in God's plan for my life and then in the way that I'm supposed to live out my purpose. But also, I am confident because of the women that I was surrounded by. So I grew up with really terrible eczema. And I know that people would look at me now and be like, girl, where? But that is not the case. I struggled with eczema from about 9 years old until high school. It was so rough that my skin would ooze and bleed. And at some point around seventh grade, I lost hair because my scalp was inflamed with eczema. And so in seventh grade, at the end of seventh grade and eighth grade, I did red light phototherapy. I did experimental topical creams. I have had injections for allergies. I really, really struggled with my eczema. And when it became more suppressed and I was able to control it because of some environmental things and, of course, you know, healthier habits, I developed a sense of confidence because of the women in my life. They didn't let me go through that phase of life without reminding me of who I was and whose I was. So I really thank God for my mom. I thank God for having two amazing grandmothers who absolutely loved and adored me. I have, aunts who are, very confident women. I had cousins who were older than me that were involved in pageantry and, you know, doing their own thing and embracing their own individuality. And I feel like those women, along with some other mentors, really played a huge role in me developing a sense of confidence in just being who I was.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I definitely can relate to you with the eczema. I had definitely had eczema too. And it's hard, especially as you're going through your teen years
Yeah.
to feel like, just beautiful and that you are worthy because of who you are, because you're going through puberty already. And then this thing is on top of that. So I think that's beautiful that you've had those women in your life to
Yeah.
help guide you and let you know remind you who you are. It's super important at that age. And I know you mentor young girls, so I'm sure you're able to like pass that and pay it forward as well.
Yes, I love what I get to do, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But that's the basis of what I do is my own personal story for sure.
Yeah. What do you think is the first step for women who want to become more confident?
I think blocking out the noise. I think sometimes we have too many influences telling us what and who and how we should be. And I think that sometimes, we can't necessarily avoid social media and social interaction and school and work and the places where people might have an influence on our confidence. But I think blocking out the noise in terms of allowing opinions to not um, weigh so heavily on us and not ruminate on the negative thoughts and speak positively over ourselves. I teach my middle school girls, to embrace affirmations, like lean into that. Not only like looking in the mirror and saying I'm beautiful, but just boldly walking in the things that you say about yourself. So that's my first step, is to just cut the noise and start listening to the things that you should be listening to.
Hmm. Now, how it's easy, I feel like it's easier said than done to cut and block out the noise.
Mm-hmm.
But what have you found has been like, how do you do that though? Like when you are, like you said, there's so much around us these days, or social media, and it's everywhere, and we get addicted. We're addicted to our phones, no matter how we may want to deny that. We all are addicted to our phones in some way.
We
So
are.
how do you block out the noise? Like, yeah, what are ways that you could do that?
So that is hard to do. And I tell people all the time, there's no one solution to that. That comes, I think, with maturity. The older you get, the less you seem to be concerned about other people's opinions about you and the way that you live your life. But as a young woman who is just starting out and just trying to figure out where to cut the noise, I would start with unfollowing the people that are negative influences on your confidence and so like self-esteem. If you are going to someone's page and you are clicking on it, and every time you look at it you're comparing yourself to where she is in life, what her body looks like, how much money she has, that's creating, a sense of low confidence in your mind every time you open the app, subconsciously, whether you realize it or not. And so I personally only follow very few celebrities. I engage with specific posts on purpose. I make sure that I'm not clicking on the women who I know have been open about, having things done to their bodies and things like that. That's unrealistic. That has nothing to do with me and my body and where I am. So that's just not something I'm going to engage with, because I know that that's going to keep coming up in my timeline. So I'd start there. I'd also start by putting some sticky notes on that mirror. Girl, write out your affirmations. Make an affirmation board. If you don't want to put them on your sticky notes on your mirror, type a bunch of them out. We made vision boards together
Yeah.
around Christmas. So I think that just having some place where you can have Bible verses, phrases, and quotes, put it in a frame and put it in your bathroom. You got to sit on the toilet every day as a woman.
That's true.
So if you put it in your bathroom and it's in a place that you can look at it and just remind yourself when you're getting out of the shower, when you're in your bathroom, that's creating a sense of confidence whether you recognize it or not. So I think just little things like that are a part of what I do. But it is challenging. It's really
Mhm.
challenging, and it's something that we have to lean on each other for. And that's why I believe in creating spaces for community for women to be able to do that.
Yes. So true. Big fan of the sticky notes. Big
Yes.
fan of the sticky notes.
Look, I keep sticky notes by my desk.
Same here. Same here. I got mine. Well, I got some right here. So, as I was doing my research on you, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos and things, and uh, your talent is dramatic monologues, I believe. And it seems like such a natural talent for you, and it's very unique too. I feel like you don't really see a lot of talent of like acting. You see a lot of singing, you see a lot of dance, you see a lot of maybe baton throwing and twirling. At least from my perspective, I'm not in the pageant world, but that's what I've seen.
No,
So,
you're right.
yeah, what made you choose dramatic monologues for your talent instead of going down a different route?
Well, I feel like there's a long-winded answer and a short answer. So do you want the long one because we're on a podcast?
Yeah, we got time. We got
Okay.
time. Let's do a long one.
So I will say that my journey in pageantry did not start in a system where there was a talent portion. So when I came over to the Miss America system at 21 years old, which is a little late in the game for some people, um, I was like, I don't have a talent. I don't play piano. I don't do any of these things that people typically think of. I don't dance. I don't sing. I don't twirl batons. What can I do? And I was like, you know what? I actually do have a talent. And I grew up doing theater at the South Carolina Children's Theater. And in high school, I did speech and debate. Now, I will say that my teammates, my younger brother, everybody was so much better than me, but we had a national award winning speech and debate team. And so I did okay, I did well, but I really developed a love for storytelling there. And I loved watching people pick pieces that meant something and that would encourage people to think differently about a subject or a topic. And so when it was time for me to compete for Miss South Carolina, I was like, well, I think I'm going to do a dramatic monologue. And I went right back to my roots in high school to tell stories that mattered. So that's how I chose my talent. And every year it was something different. I mean, I hope, and I know that for a few people, I did evoke a lot of emotion, but I loved being able to have a different and unique talent and do something that hadn't been done in over 60 years in South Carolina, which was win with something that was not dancing, singing, or playing an instrument. So it was really,
Oh.
really fun.
Wow, so you're saying no one in 60 years had one that did a talent that was dramatic monologue?
Yeah, no one had
Wow.
ever won with a dramatic monologue. Someone had won with a comedy style speaking talent. But outside of that, no one has ever won with a dramatic monologue. And I am grateful that Miss America now embraces, they call it her story. So some people don't act, they are telling a story in a different way about something that they care about or something that they do as a hobby. But all in all, it's the same thing. And I'm really glad that they've started to embrace it on the national level because now you see girls everywhere are telling stories, and that is equally as much of a talent. I feel like if you've put in the work like I did, I wasn't going to dance class, I was going to theater camp and
Yeah.
things like that. So I did put in the work to develop those skills, and I hope that girls are practicing and doing the same in other states.
Yeah, wow. And so did anybody in your, I guess in that in your competition do an acting kind of talent like when you were competing?
Yeah, so my first year, I was the absolute only dramatic monologue in the entire competition out of 50 plus girls. And by the time I had competed a fifth time, which I'm sure we'll get to that later, but by the time I competed the fifth time, there were about five other young women who were also doing um, a dramatic monologue or her story, whatever they would like to call it, but they were doing speaking talents. So I would like to say that me being on stage and continuously making the top 10 and the top five doing my talent created a lane for other girls to feel confident in doing so as well.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about that, I know there's like a on-stage question and you have interviews and things like that. I feel like doing a monologue and like memorizing something is only enhancing like what you can say in an interview or an on-stage question. Is kind of like a step for, like on top of that or like in the same lane as like an interview or on stage question. It's kind of like, well, if I can do this, then I can answer anything in an interview or on stage question. It kind of like all ties together. Whereas with like you're
Absolutely.
doing a dance, you're showing confidence and you're singing. If you're singing, you're showing confidence, but you're not using your voice to project your natural tone of voice. Does that make sense? So it's really
Yeah,
interesting.
I agree. I think that speaking is the basis of the job of any pageant state title holder, local title holder, or national title holder. Like you are going to speak way more than you are going to go sing the national anthem at a football game
Mm,
or, do a special dance class or dance with, a famous group of dancers or, perform at a local talent show or festival. Like you're just going to speak way more, or at least you should be
mm.
speaking way more than you're doing your talent. So I do think that that's a fundamental piece of being a title holder is to be able to speak. So I think it does expand on those skills. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for sure. And now it's led to so many more things in the realm of speaking for me. So I hope that more girls do decide to embrace it.
You got me inspired. I'm like, if I ever do a talent, I'm gonna do a little monologue. I did a monologue in seventh grade. Actually, funny story. Me and Elise, we went to the same middle school and we did monologues in seventh grade, and we were both chosen to do our monologues in front of like the seventh grade class. I remember I was talking about like my arm, breaking my arm at dance class. I was trying to do a back handspring, and I talked about like the feelings about breaking my arm and all of that and how it happened. So I got it in me, you know. You're inspiring me.
You have dance talents. If I would have had them, I would have used them. However, I did not. I had to use other talents. So if you
But it
ever
made you stand out though. It's unique. And
it did.
sometimes for pro dance auditions, they ask for a talent. And then I'm always like, that dancing is my talent. Like, what else would I do? But if somebody is listening to this, and a lot of women who are in the dance world and pro dance and cheer world are listening to this or want to get into that world, then if you come across an audition and need a talent, then you don't have to do a contemporary dance. You can try doing a speaking talent or acting or dramatic monologue or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
anything.
yeah, think about, stepping outside of the realm of, what's normally done. I think it's important to stand out that way.
That's
Do
really
you,
cool.
huh?
That's really cool that they ask you to do an additional talent. I think showing off how
Yeah,
well-rounded you are is really cool.
right. But it's just like, people, it always baffles me. I'm like, dancing is my talent. That's why I'm here. But I guess it makes for great entertainment because people come up with all sorts of things. So,
Love it.
do you remember your first speech ever?
Yes. Yeah, well, not my first speech ever, but I
Okay.
remember my first monologue ever. And I was in sixth grade, seventh grade, sixth grade, maybe, sixth or seventh grade. And I had just completed my first acting class at the South Carolina Children's Theater. And at the end, you had to deliver the monologue that you memorized. My parents came, my brother, and I'm like, okay, I've been practicing this thing. But I'm just like, oh gosh, like I am so nervous. I don't know why I'm going last. Like, what is this? And so everyone delivers their monologue, and I get up there, and oh my gosh, I forget the lines. And so I just run off, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it's crazy because I'm going like so strong, and I'm probably one of the best monologues. And I'm like, okay, this is why they put me last. And then I just blank on the rest of the lines as soon as I look at my mom. So I had a rule in pageants because of sixth grade. I had a rule in pageants that I could not see my mom's face during talent because she is my biggest cheerleader, but she is also my biggest critic, and she knows my lines. And I cannot see her face during my talent performances, but I did like for my dad to be a focal point. So
That's a good balance, you know? You gotta have one, but you got the other you can look at, and then afterwards you can look at your mom as much as you want, and I'm sure she'll tell you exactly what she's thinking.
it's the feedback for sure.
What is the key to public speaking,
Ooh,
in your
that's a tough
opinion?
one because it's the biggest fear of a huge percentage of Americans, and I always think those polls are funny, um, because I feel the opposite. I feel invigorated. I feel excited. I feel like charged up when I'm about to go on stage and talk to, especially youth and students, K through 12 students and collegiate students, which is my niche, my little pocket of people that I like. But feel like the key is being prepared and being over prepared. When you know what you are talking about and you're not faking it, and you know the lines, and you don't have to think about what is next, um, that's when you are a little less fearful because you know the material. Once
Hmm.
you know something, no one can take that away from you. So,
But what if you don't know the material? Like, what if you don't know what's being asked? How do
oh,
you, like, if, let's say I'm in an audition or I'm in an interview and I don't know the question, and I'm trying to pull stuff out of my memory and what I know.
That's an interesting question because I feel like that is a totally different, like having a prepared speech is totally different than an interview or an onstage question or anything like that. But I always say that if you are answering from the heart and you are being genuine and you're not overthinking your word choice or how you sound, if you pretend that you are talking to a friend, if there is a huge crowd, do not look into the audience. Find an exit sign during rehearsal that you can stare at. If you have a focal point and you can pretend that that focal point is your best friend, then you will answer it like you are talking to your best friend. So I
Mm.
believe in being genuine and authentic and just having a conversation and not necessarily thinking about it like a series of questions or a question.
Mm. Yeah, because like you said, it's nerve-wracking when you're on a stage and you're being told to answer a question in front of a bunch of people who you may not know, some people that you do know that knows who you are.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice when you're just like, look at the exit sign, like just pretend like nobody's there. Like the
Yes.
old saying where they're like, pretend like everybody's in their underwear.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I think that's really good advice because it can be nerve-wracking. And I wonder, like, I really want to see research why. Like, why is public speaking such a nerve-wracking thing? It's for
Because
humans, at least. I don't know about the aliens, but for humans, like, it's such. What do you think about that?
it is. I think there's a couple of factors. I think one has a lot to do with confidence. Like if we are comfortable in being ourselves, then we are less concerned about what people think about our answers. And so confidence and judgment. I think people are really concerned about being judged. And obviously in a pageant, you are being judged.
Right.
But in any other situation, you're not being judged. So just answer without thinking about what other people are going to think about you. And so I think the confidence and the judgment like are hand in hand in that one for sure because we do often think about, well, what do people think about me? What if they're staring at this about me? And 9 times out of 10, people are less concerned about you in that moment than you think, even if you
Yeah.
are the center of attention. Like, you could
Hmm.
be the only person on stage answering a question, and people are still going to be distracted about what so and so in the audience is wearing, what somebody else is doing. So, I think just learning to not worry about being the center of attention in that moment and just embrace who you are. That
Yeah.
kind of tones it down a little bit because I think most people are afraid of the spotlight.
Yeah, that's so true. And when you get in the spotlight, it's like, oh, everybody's watching me, but everybody's not. Like you said, everybody's not really
Yeah.
that tuned in as much. We care about ourselves way more than other people care about us, and
Well,
we're only thinking about ourselves. Nobody else is thinking about us. If you have that mindset, then you can get through anything.
and most people are rooting for you, not against you. Like the people who have it in their minds that, oh my gosh, all these people want to see me fail. They don't want me to answer well. Like that's probably not true. Like a majority of people want you to succeed if they are watching you in any setting. Nobody is, well, there are going to be some people, like I said, but no, I don't think that a majority of people are necessarily like rooting for you to have a major downfall.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when children get up on a stage and are trying to speak, and they're like really young children, and maybe there's an adult handing like holding the mic down to them to get on their level. Like people in the crowd, it reminds me like an old church. People in the crowd are like, you can do it, you got it, take your time. It's like, just think of yourself as a child up there, and people are rooting for you as if
People
you're
are.
your child.
People are rooting for you. So yeah, have that mindset too going in.
I want to pivot to talking about vulnerability and perfectionism. I think it's kind of like a good segue when we're talking about getting in front of people, having confidence. And you mentioned in an interview that you were really good friends with the late Chesley Chris. I said her name right, I hope.
Yes.
Who was Miss USA. May she rest in peace. when I think about her, I didn't know her, but when I think about her and all the people that I know that she's touched, and I think about somebody who you never know what somebody's going through, you never know how bubbly they may appear on the outside, but maybe going through something on the inside. And as women, it brings up the thought of like we often are taught to look like we have it all together and never to let people see us sweat or be vulnerable because then, like you said earlier, you'll be judged or criticized negatively. And I've definitely had times in my life where I have had to think about this a lot. And it's not just a woman thing, it's a human thing.
Hmm.
Masking your inner thoughts and feelings to please other people just to feel comfortable to be around or make people feel comfortable to be around you. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the like juxtaposition of vulnerability and aiming to be perfect, especially as a pageant. I don't know if you like this term, but pageant queen, or a woman that's in pageants, where there's a bunch of high achievers and go getters that just thrive. And I have to imagine that it can get lonely and grueling sometimes. So, not just from your physical, but your mental. So, I say all that to say, yeah, what are your thoughts on just, vulnerability and perfectionism in this space?
Ooh, that's a loaded. That's
I
a
know
loaded.
it's so loaded. I thought a lot about it.
That's a loaded question. One, yes, I do want to just take a minute to pause and honor Chesley Chris and the life that she lived, and I am grateful for her influence on my life as a fellow Gamecock and state title holder in the Carolinas. So I say all that to say a lot of people are masking things, but there also are a lot of people being open about what they're experiencing. And it is up to us to, people always say, check on your strong friends. And like a lot of people don't put the action behind that. That's much easier said than done. Or you could check on somebody and they not feel comfortable being honest and open.
Yeah.
So, as much as we say that we want to create this world where people can share their vulnerabilities, people are being judged for their vulnerabilities all of the time. We see it all the time on TikTok, on Instagram, when somebody comes on the internet crying or complaining about something that they're experiencing or sharing a story of a breakup, and then people start to judge or blame the person and or talk to them about what they're going through or offer unsolicited advice. And so, as much as I try to be authentic and genuine and just say, you know what, I am far from perfect. I'm letting you all know a tidbit of what I am experiencing and going through. Also know that the internet is not my safe place. I don't need, almost 8,000 people in my business. Not to say that my story can't be used to encourage someone else, but if I'm going through something, if I might have almost 8,000 people watching my stuff, but there might be somebody else with 1,000 people. You still don't need 1,000 people knowing the details of you. And so I love that people share open and honestly on the internet, but that is not my place to embrace, all of my vulnerabilities. I believe in doing that with my genuine friends, with my family that I have the relationships to be able to do that with. Not my entire family now. I am a black woman in the South, so we know families are huge. But so I'm not telling everybody my vulnerabilities and experiences, but I am sharing with the people who are close to me. And I think it's important for us to have friends and family and community offline. That's number one. Like, definitely not planning on ever being the person who goes on the internet and cries first when I have my best friend 14 minutes away from me, or I have my other best friend, a phone call away from me or a FaceTime away from me. So I do believe in being vulnerable. I do believe in sharing. I don't mind being open and honest. I've talked on podcasts before. I've been on the internet. I've talked about experiencing layoffs. I've talked about experiencing, you know, I singleness. I've talked about all of these things on various platforms, but I don't choose to make that the center of my page. And if that comes across as perfectionism, then I am sad that it does. But at the same time, I don't want my Instagram page to be a place where people go and find my vulnerabilities and my weak spots without me also countering that with the fact that I am, if I'm going through something, I'm still rooted in my faith, so I still believe the outcome is going to work out in my favor. If I am experiencing a season of sadness or singleness or uh, whatever else comes with that, then I'm not resting in that being the final destination. I'm resting in the fact that something else is going to come from this. So if I'm sharing, it's because I know that I'm just in the middle of it, or maybe I'm on the other side of it and I want to reflect on what I've been through. But to get on the internet and share my vulnerabilities in the middle of it is just not my thing. And maybe it's because of, being the millennial and not necessarily Gen Z. Some of Gen Z is like, no, just put it all on the internet. And that's just not how I feel about it.
You just let other people into what you have going on that people don't even know you. For
Hmm.
people that don't know you, and if like you don't know what they're gonna say. If they say a comment to you that you don't like, then that's gonna make you feel even worse. So I'm not a
Hmm.
huge fan of doing that either. I think some people can really do it and they have a really good way of doing it and being really real about it and knowing that what can come with it and the consequences that can come out of it. But yeah, like you said, I think maybe it is a millennial thing and instead of a Gen Z thing because it's yeah, you just invite too many people into it. And I think keeping that circle tight and close.
Too many opinions, too many, like you said, comments, too many eyes. Like, if you want to be a confident person, own who you are and what you are without having to share it with anybody. Not anybody, obviously. When I say anybody, I mean the internet. But I totally believe in just having your people offline and growing and developing that safe space without having to turn to the internet.
The pageant world is similar to pro dance and pro cheer and having the sort of like self doubt when rejection comes after not hearing your name multiple times and it can be super heartbreaking. I remember just watching an interview that you did about it being heartbreaking, and it took 4 years to be. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe you can clarify, but it took 4 years. But what made you keep going in those moments after you had some rejection or adversity?
Yeah, I always tell people I relate to the pro dance, pro cheer girls, and the athletes so much because the worlds are so similar in that you're putting yourself out there for somebody else to choose or pick you, and you can become really self-critical in the process if things do not pan out your way. The first time, the second time, the third time, however many times, if you
Yeah.
continue to audition or try out or compete. I competed for Miss South Carolina 5 times.
Mm.
I had no intention on doing that ever, ever, ever. I competed for Miss South Carolina my senior year of college, kind of on a whim. I came home from Christmas break and told my mom, I think I want to do this pageant. I know I've taken like all of college off. I did a couple teen pageants, my freshman year and senior year of high school. But I was like, I think I want to do Miss South Carolina because they have scholarship money and I really got to figure out how to pay off my student loans. And she was like, oh my gosh, I wanted to do Miss South Carolina back in the day, but I didn't have the confidence to do it. You should go for it. And I was like, okay, she's with it. And so I competed for Miss South Carolina the June after I graduated from college for the first time. And I thought, this is a one and done thing for me. But I competed and I made the top 10. And if you are anything in the pro dance, pro cheer, sports world, you know that feeling of like you make it to the next round or you make it the first time and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. Like you get this sense of like, it's like a bug. It's like, okay, I want to do it again. I want to see what else I can make. I want to challenge myself. I want to push myself. And so I competed again because that's my personality. I was like, okay, well, I know what I did right and what I did wrong after the first time. I want to see what happens. And so I did it again, made the top 10, and I continued doing it. And I had made the top 10 a few times. I was second runner up to Miss South Carolina. And I thought my journey was over after that fourth year because the age limit in the Miss South Carolina and Miss America scholarship organization was 26 at the time. And I was like, well, I'm 25 now, I'm turning 26 in August. There's no way I could do this ever again, but it was a really fun ride. I had felt all of the feelings every year when I didn't make it that close. And I felt the disappointment. I felt the rage. I felt the comparison. How did she make it and how did I not make it? I felt the questioning of God's plan. Well, I thought this was something, if my heart told me to do this, then I thought that this was something that, you would give me. So it pushed me in terms of my faith. It pushed me in terms of, friendships and discipline and just being able to consistently improve is not easy. And in the pro dance and pro cheer world, you know that. Like, you got to stay up on your game. You cannot slack off because that opportunity is not guaranteed. Like, every time there's a clean slate. And so when I reached the fourth year, I was like, I felt all of the things. So at this point, I finally feel peace in knowing that I gave it my all. Of course, I'm sad and disappointed that I didn't hear my name called, and that I didn't get to represent all of the communities that I wanted to represent. But at the same time, I was like okay with it, knowing that I had given it my all. And then a couple months later, I got a phone call in January of 2023 saying that the Miss America age limit had changed and that I was eligible to compete again. Anybody who is competitive knows, like, if you get that one extra shot, like, there is something in you that just wants to go for it. And so I tell people all the time, if the dream hasn't left your brain or your heart, then that means that you need to try it one more time. And
Mhm.
so I competed again, and lo and behold, I won. And
Yay.
so that was a beautiful moment and an incredible year, not without challenges, but it was a beautiful experience. But it definitely takes a toll on your confidence. It takes a toll on your mental and physical health, like you said. And it's so important for you to, one, have the people around you that you need to keep you going, to keep you motivated. It's important for you to make sure that you're feeding your own mind and your spirit, whether it's changing the kind of music that you listen to or switching to a podcast that you know will encourage you or whatever else. It's so important to feed your mind and your body and your spirit when you are doing something like putting yourself out there in pageantry or in pro or cheer dance.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. So, what does the training actually look like year to year? How do you know what to come back with and what to work on after maybe that first, second, third, fourth year?
Yeah, every year in pageantry, there's a different panel of judges. So that is probably a slight difference between pro dance and pro cheer, where there might be the same coaching staff every year. But every year in pageantry, there's going to be a different set of judges. So five people, five different opinions. It could be a different girl every day of the week if they, saw something different in those people. So it's not necessarily changing everything. It's looking at yourself and being really analytical. And I feel like a lot of young women don't know how to take their emotions out of it and say, okay, I know that my feelings were hurt. How can I look at this from another angle and say, what is my strategy going in? Be analytical of what you presented on stage, what worked, what did get crowned, what did end up working out? Where did you score high? If you can get those results, did you call and get feedback? Or are you able to ask your judges? Some systems you are able to contact the judges, some you are not. So figuring out where you can get that feedback from is always extremely important. I'm a person who likes to know where I can make improvements and then lock in and laser in on those things while also continuing to do whatever I did in the other areas of competition. So in the Miss America organization, there are 5 phases of competition. In the Miss USA system, there are 3 phases of competition, which are interview, swimsuit, and evening gown. For Miss America, there is interview, fitness, talent, evening gown, and onstage question. And so every pageant is going to be different. Every system is going to be different. I've competed in several systems, and I tell girls all the time, you got to know your strengths before you get there. And I know that we all have very supportive family and friends, but sometimes it's important to get an opinion of someone outside of the people who already know, love, and adore you and have somebody really critique you. I'm sure dancers do the same thing where you send your video to someone else and say, what could be different about this? Is the song choice right? Is the costume right? The details make the difference, and so I always tell girls to pay attention to those details and don't stop just because you're not in season. In the same way that a pro dancer or a cheerleader wouldn't stop training or working out, you don't stop keeping up with current events. You don't stop practicing your talent. You don't stop improving on your fitness routine and evening gown walk. Like you don't stop doing those things just because it's not pageant season or dance season or cheer season. So I think that's a message for all young women listening to this is that you continue to train. Winners win all year long.
Hey, I love that. Can put that on the shirt. Winners win all day long. All year long, you said.
Yes.
Yeah. In those times where you felt the self-doubt and maybe your name wasn't called, what have you learned the most in those times?
Oh, from a spiritual perspective, God's timing is perfect timing, because we can't control what is or is not going to work out for us. And just because a door is closed, that does not mean that another opportunity is not around the corner for you. So a lot of people might compete in the same system for years and nothing happens, and then they change systems and they win. I've heard those stories before. My Miss Maryland, when I competed for Miss America, she had competed in the USA system for years and years and years and years. She had been a pro cheerleader. She had done all of the things, and she came over to the Miss America system and won her first time. And so for me, I competed at Miss South Carolina 5 times, and I didn't get my yes until the 5th time. For other girls, they might go to another system, come back, learn something new about themselves. I think it's important for us to trust God's timing. So that's first and foremost. In those moments of doubts, I learned to trust God's timing because of other people's stories and because of my own experiences. So that's number one. But also, in those times of doubt, I learned to take a step back and realize that I am so much more than a pageant crown. Like, yes, it's back here in the background today, but that is like not even close to the things that I would want at the top of my resume or the top of my, obituary if I were, leave the world today. Like, great, wonderful. I love those things about me, and I love that those are experiences that I've had. But all of us are so much more than just one title. Whether it's a pageant title or a professional cheer or dance title, you're so much more than that one team, that one experience that you've had. And so I firmly believe in taking a step back and asking yourself what else you want to do. Because coming back to a competition or coming back to dance or cheerleading season and saying, I had all of these experiences that make me so much better now at what I am doing in this season. For me, that was, you know, changing, pivoting in my career. That was going to travel and have fun experiences with my friends without even thinking about, pageant image and perfectionism. Like just having a grand time. I tell girls, if you're in college, go enjoy college. Like if you want to be a professional dancer, cool, like wonderful, but like enjoy your time in each season that you're in during that time that you have because you only get one life. And if I were to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time doubting myself and I only did one thing, I would be so sad and disappointed that I didn't take advantage of taking a step back and not sitting in that doubt and just going to do the other things. So
Yeah.
don't sit in the doubt.
We always,
Go do.
you said, what did you say at the last part?
Don't sit in the doubt. Go do things.
Yeah, go out and do something. We
Yes.
always are trying to figure out what's next, what comes after this. But sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to, yeah, don't sit in the doubt for forever. Give yourself some time, you know. I think it's important to feel sad because it's just a part of the journey, but do the other things that make you feel happy and bring you joy, be around people that you loved and bring you joy. So we
Absolutely.
just can't always think about like what's next, and we got to live in the present
And I
sometimes.
do want to add, when I say don't sit in the doubt, that doesn't mean don't feel your feelings. I tell girls all the time, like, take that time to journal, take that time to cry in the shower and put on your candles and do whatever else you got to do. Like, feel those feelings. But I'm like, you know how in the, this is crazy, but in the Homecoming documentary, Beyonce was like, I gave myself like 24 hours. And I
Yeah.
feel that. Like, I might give myself 3 days. I got 72 hours to feel these feelings. And by Monday, I'm on to like doing more things. You just can't sit in it forever. If you do allow yourself to sit in it forever, again, like the doubt is going to take over, the opinions of others, the uncertainty that you've come across because of those negative experiences. They'll overtake you. Go do, go be, go have fun.
Yeah, and you might need more time, and that's fine. But it's like those feelings are gonna come up regardless. But it's like
Yeah,
that can't be the only thing you do, you know? You have to
right.
find some joy in doing something, and then when you're by yourself and you want to cry, listen to sad songs and Adele, then that's what you want to do.
Right up
And
my
I think the reason, and this is on a tangent, but I think the reason people love Adele so much is because her music is, I mean, she has upbeat songs, but like most of her music is like sitting in sadness, and it's like a lot of people don't have that ability to just be sad because people don't want to be sad. People don't want to feel that way. Like if you're going through something and you're listening to a sad song, sometimes I've found that it's helped actually more than it's
I love it.
hurt.
I have
So
a I have a breakup playlist on go. It's ready at all times. If my feelings get hurt, I'm going to go on a long drive and play that playlist. Like hands
yeah, you
down.
just
And
gotta
then
let it out.
I feel better after that.
Yeah, you just gotta let it out. So what was the best and worst thing about being Miss South Carolina?
Ooh, Jazz, you're getting me to answer questions that I've never answered.
Oh, we love this.
I will start with the worst. And this is something that I am still dealing with right now. And that is that when you are in a season where you are focused on a goal, sometimes friendships and relationships get put on the back burner. And so for me, I feel like I neglected a lot of my friendships because of my own experiences being so heightened and being so, high highs and low lows. And it's hard to even sometimes text somebody back after you've been at 4 elementary schools in a day, or you've just driven 3 hours across the state to an event that you had to go speak at. Like, that's really challenging, and I am still finding myself trying to navigate this sense of, do I want to apologize for not being able to show up for my friends fully because I had to show up for myself? Or do I just pick up where I left off and just continue moving forward? So that's definitely something that I would say was the worst part of being Miss South Carolina, was just trying to figure out how to. I don't believe in balancing. I do believe in juggling because something else is going to take priority every day. Like, you got 10 balls, like something's going to be dropped. Like, you just gonna drop the ball and keep juggling. What else? you have in your hands. And the thing that I dropped was definitely, I think, my friendships. And so now it's just figuring out how to bring that back into my rotation and get my juggle back going again. So that was the hardest part, and something that I'm definitely still dealing with a year after giving up the crown, for sure. Still trying to like schedule coffee dates and catch ups and wine
Hmm.
nights and all of those things and get back into a rhythm of my friendships being an important part of my life. Um, the best things, the best things are like really like whoa. I would say attending the Christmas tree lighting where President Joe Biden, attending a White House event with First Lady Jill Biden, and the director of Miss South Carolina was able to come with me to the Christmas tree lighting, and developing a relationship with the Miss South Carolina family, the board members and directors that I got really close to. I got really close to a few of them. And so I think that having those relationships would be the best part. I would say meeting Vice President Kamala Harris at the South Carolina State House. That should have been number one, honestly. I think that was incredible.
How is she?
She was amazing. I mean, I just am in awe of her in so many ways, as someone who's worked in politics, as my sorority sister, as a woman in leadership in so many ways. She's incredible. Very calm. She was, being vice president at the moment. So really, really cool experience. Let's see, releasing my children's book and that being a number one Amazon bestseller the weekend that it came out.
Yes.
Like there it goes right there. Joy on a Journey. That was so cool. Like having so many. Like I truly had so many peak moments within 365 days. I could not be more grateful for the year that God gave me. I spoke to over 50,000 students in K through 12 and college spaces in 1 year. And I know that a lot of speakers have been speaking for 10 plus years and they're like 50,000. I'm like, yeah, I was at schools every single day. So to be able to encourage kids during Black History Month, Women's History Month, to be able to remind them of the power of mentorship and that they should embrace who they are and where they come from and to use those things as their superpowers. Man, that that also should be number one. Like everything's battling for the number one spot, but lots of moments for sure. It was definitely a blessing of a year. And I will say there were challenges, but definitely lots of blessings in the midst of it all.
Yeah, that's so cool. I just get excited like hearing you talk about that and all the experiences that you've, gotten a chance to have. It sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds like it's rewarding. And like you said, some things juggle. Some things, the balls fall, like you said. Some things are prioritized over other things. And I think it's so real that you mentioned that your friendships kind of, you weren't able to show up in the ways that you would have wanted to during that time for your friends. And that
Hmm.
you're kind of doing that now and kind of mending those friendships or, you know, doing your part to actually be a good friend to the people
Yeah,
that, are friends with you. So, uh, that's a real thing that I feel like a lot of people maybe don't talk about is when you're, going after your dreams. Sometimes the friends, it falls off. And I think that's real, especially for women, because
yeah,
our girlfriends are so important to who we are as people, our life journey. I think men have a different relationship with like their male friends than women have with each other.
yeah.
So
They
yeah,
can just
that's a
text
real
the group
thing.
chat, and we need like a whole debrief. Like, tell me all the details over the past 3 months in this 2 hour wine night thing.
Yeah,
And I
literally.
definitely, I definitely have missed out. I felt like a lot of my sacrifices were not just during that year, but leading up to, because I competed for so many years. I missed weddings, I missed baby showers, I missed, things moments that I can't get back. And that's not always easy to make a decision to say, I'm chasing my dream, and this thing that I can't miss for that dream falls on the same day or same weekend or, whatever. and that's tough. But we all got to make decisions, and I think that now that I'm older, I'm realizing like our friends are going through so much too. Like as people in pageantry, professional cheerleading, dance, athletes, we have friends that are going through regular life things as well. Like they don't necessarily always have the time or capacity to dedicate themselves fully to a friendship either. So I have learned to extend grace to all people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think pageants are full of fake people? How have you, I know it's a real turn. How have you seen the organization, if this is true, if that's a true statement, how have you seen organizations and the systems that you've been in try to get rid of that, I guess, myth or perception?
Well, I think that is a twofold answer because one, there are fake people everywhere.
True, this is true.
There are fake people everywhere. There are fake people at jobs that don't know how to do their job and somehow they're getting paid. So there are
Preach.
fake people everywhere. Um, there are fake people in pageants. I mean, there are definitely fake people in pageants. But what I will say is that a majority of the women that I have competed alongside, the directors that I've had the opportunity to work with, to compete under, have been really genuine people and people that know how to keep it real. My director from Miss South Carolina is one of my greatest friends. I absolutely love and adore him because he is so just him. He has no problem being himself in any space. And he kind of gave me permission to do that during my year as Miss South Carolina because he's just so like overwhelmingly like fine with being himself in any space that I felt the same, that I could do the same. And so I showed up authentically and I showed up letting girls know like, hey, I am so far from perfect. I've failed at this, and this.
Hmm.
I have let people know like I didn't come from a place where I was super confident, had everything together. I still don't have everything together. Like even
Yeah.
when I had the sash and crown on, I didn't have everything together at all. And so I think leading with that lets me know that if I show up and I'm not fake, that other people don't have to be fake either. So I think people were able to let their guard down around me. And I think women that competed for Miss South Carolina, at least, I don't know about other states, they all showed up so ready to just be themselves. I don't know if it was because I was the outgoing Miss South Carolina, but I will say that girls were just like, okay, I can be myself. We had so many young women come to the pageant with natural hair if they were black women. We had women who did unique talents and showed up in those spaces and just were leaving the fake behind, decided to wear what they wanted to wear instead of what they were expected to wear. And I think that is something that you have to set from the top down. The tone is set from the top down. Now, I do believe there is a difference between like being real, being authentic, and being, you know, fake on this side, but there's a level of excellence that comes with competing in pageants. And I think that no matter what, you should strive to be great and to be excellent in all that you do. So for some people, that means that they have to be fake. For some people, it just means leaning into who they are. So I think that's why I say not so many fake people, just women striving to be their best.
Right. And sometimes that may come off to other people as fake
Right.
when they're just, they're just focused and they're like in their lane and they're
Hmm.
doing what they need to do in order to achieve whatever goal they have, which is, winning the pageant.
Hmm.
So I could see that, some people take things personally and it's just something, at that point, it's just kind of like a them problem, I
Yeah.
have to imagine.
Absolutely. I never came to make best friends with everybody that was competing. Like,
Right. Yeah, and there's no way that you could have.
yeah,
That's
so I was
exhausting.
there to do a job and to show up well. So if that was fake to anybody, I always tell people I apologize, but I always led with that too. Like, hey, I'm not talking right now. I know I talk a lot in every other space, but I'm not talking right now because I'm locked in. So I'm not being fake. I'll chat with you when I'm done with this thing that I'm
Yeah.
doing.
That takes a lot of emotional intelligence, and I think that's to say that, to just be have that caveat and tell people like, hey, just so you know, I might be a little different, but that's just because of this. I
Hmm.
think sometimes it's not always needed, but with certain situations and certain people, then you just kind of have to know, which I think that's a really good tidbit.
Yeah. I think even in the dance space, I mean,
Yeah,
you all have to be peppy. As cheerleaders and dancers, you have to be
exactly.
on, but that doesn't mean that your pregame, you want to be talkative or, excited all the time or cheery or whatever. Like sometimes you might just need to, have your moment, have your reset.
Oof. I'm gonna tell you, the last thing I want to do is smile after a game. Like when I was cheering, you're smiling the whole day and your cheeks hurt by the end of the day. All I want to do is have RBF when I leave that field and I put on some clothes and I shower. I just don't want to smile.
Yeah.
I'm happy because I just had the time of my life, but I am not smiling for anybody until
Yeah.
the next game.
I get
So
it.
yeah,
Get
totally
it.
get that. How much on average does it cost for a woman to compete in a pageant? Like how costly is it?
That is so funny that you asked that. I have this conversation all the time.
Wow.
It costs how much you want it to cost. I have
Okay.
competed in a 99-cent dress. The gown that I won Miss South Carolina in, I borrowed. You do not have to spend, a couple $1,000s to win a couple $1,000s in scholarships. The math ain't mathing. Like, make it make sense. The goal for me was always to walk away with scholarship money. And every year I did that. I walked away with a couple $1,000s. Um, I wore the same dress the first and second year. I wore the same dress the third and fourth year. And then the fifth year, I was wearing a dress that was borrowed. So I never believed in spending thousands and thousands of dollars on a dress that I was going to wear one time. There's no way a dress should cost more than my first car. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not my
Oof.
wedding day. This is a pageant
Yeah.
gown. And there is no guarantee you are going to win. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I believe in investing. Like I said, in the first question that you asked me about my wardrobe, I believe in investing in quality pieces. I bought a white suit one year and I wore that suit for talent. I wore that suit for interview one year. I've worn that suit in other pageant systems when I left the Miss America organization and went to Miss USA. I listen, fully believe in getting some quality things that you can reduce, reuse, and recycle throughout your wardrobe and just being smart about where you're spending. The goal is obviously to leave with something that you didn't come with. And obviously that depends on the system. Miss America, you're leaving with scholarship money. Miss USA, you might be leaving with a modeling contract or something else. But making sure that you're investing in a way that you're not going to be in debt after the competition is over. Like this is supposed to be fun and it is an expensive hobby, but at the same time, don't go into like personal debt trying to pursue a dream. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's like not a threshold of how much you need to spend.
No, no. But I do know women who've spent, five figures on a gown. Sure.
Oh, five.
If you would like to spend $10,000 on a gown, you go ahead and do that. As for me, I'm not doing that ever, 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 ever.
Look, I'm like, let me hold that gown and go sell it. I was kidding.
No, truly.
Wow.
So value is just not the same. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing in the dance world. When you have auditions, I always say to girls, find somebody who's not auditioning anymore and may have a top that you can borrow
Yes,
or that you can rent,
yes,
or that you can buy from at, a
yes.
lower
Rent,
price or something.
borrow, buy from, secondhand. Absolutely. Be smart
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
pursuing your dream. Like, again, we don't need to go broke trying to do something that we enjoy.
Exactly. What do you think needs to change in pageantry in 2025?
Ooh, I am loving the direction of a lot of what I'm seeing lately in terms of people being inclusive of all people. We are seeing different body shapes and sizes on, the Miss USA, Miss Universe, Miss International, all of those stages where there's swimsuit. We're seeing that in fitness in Miss America. We are seeing so many unique women from different backgrounds being crowned in states, and I am excited about that. I think that comes from leadership in the state organizations being more open and intentional about being inclusive. So I'm glad to see state and national directors being intentional about that. I'm glad to see more women of color and unique backgrounds coming to compete, because you can't win if you don't compete. So
Hmm.
deciding to just step into it and try it anyway, that's always wonderful. I love seeing the number of women who are competing as a value add and not placing their value solely in the title. I've seen so many women who are, because of Miss USA's in the past, that have been, military or, on air hosts or whatever, or Miss Americas that have been, military or doing really cool things in nursing and research and, STEM. In all of these different spaces, I am seeing women learn that pageantry is a fun hobby, but it is not the end all be all. So I am looking forward to continuing to see women just going for it while also going for other things in their lives. So
Mm,
yeah,
I love
I
those
like
trends.
this direction.
Yeah, I love these trends. And tell me, I do remember there was a big thing that happened maybe 5, 6 years ago with Miss America. They took away something. Was it the fitness
Swimsuit.
competition?
Swimsuit, yes.
Swimsuit?
They got rid of
Is that
swimsuit and they added fitness wear 2 years later. So there was a time period when there was no fitness, but overall fitness and well-being is a part of the lifestyle of Miss America. You have to be able to get up and go as a state title holder. Like I said, I would be up at 5 a.m. driving to a school and then, quick nap, energy, recharge, and I'm at an event in the evening, and that's the same for the current Miss South Carolina, and that'll be the same for all of the women that come after her, because that is the job of being a state title holder. And so you have to be well overall, not physically fit solely, but mentally well, have your plans in place, be someone who's intentional about self-care and being well. So yeah, they added it back, and I think it's a great thing that they added it back for sure.
so they did add back swimsuit.
Fitness wear.
Fitness.
So
Okay.
it's leggings or shorts and a sports top of some sort.
Why did they get rid of swimsuit?
Because of a lot of controversy around body image and some things that had been said from leadership about women who were serving in the Miss America role. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So if somebody wants to get into pageants, what do you think should be their first step? If they've never had anything to do with a pageant.
Never had anything to do with a pageant. I am going to say, if you're thinking about it, go for it. That's my simple answer. My answer outside of that is to contact someone who is a representative of the pageant that you're thinking of and decide if that system is right for you. Like I said, there is Miss America, Miss USA that goes to Miss Universe. There's Miss World, there's Miss United States, there's Miss International, there's Miss, oh my gosh, there are so many titles. National American Miss, there's International Junior Miss. There are so Collegiate America. Oh my gosh, if I was in college or high school, I would definitely be competing for Miss High School America or Miss Collegiate America. The scholarships are incredible. You get a brand new Jeep Wrangler. Like, there's
Ooh.
so many different prize packages and systems, and I tell girls to do your research on which one is going to be best for you. If you can't decide on your own, give somebody a call that might know a little bit more about pageants, if that's a coach or something. I am available as a coach and as someone who does a 15-minute free phone call with girls who might be interested in competing. So I tell people all the time there are a million ways to get involved, but if you're thinking about it, do it because the personal development or professional development and the spiritual growth that take place are incredible and they are really going to stretch you in ways that you didn't know were possible. You are going to walk away a better speaker. You're going to be more well-rounded on global issues. You are going to be, you know, more confident in walking up to anyone and having a conversation, going up in front of a room of people and speaking publicly about something that you're passionate about. You're going to meet people who share common interests with you if you have a platform and you're doing work around that. So there are so many benefits to competing. And it's so much more than just wearing a pretty gown on stage. Like, that's the end part that everybody sees, but there's so much that happens before that and behind the scenes. And so I really encourage people who are thinking about it to go for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the last question I have on pageants is just how do you, when you are walking in front in a room with other amazing women for a pageant competition, how do you hold back from comparing yourself to them?
Mm, that goes back to my faith as well, resting in knowing that I am created uniquely and that I am uniquely and wonderfully made in God's image. And so I need to embrace that fully. And I talk about comparison a lot in the devotional that I wrote for women who are competing in pageants. So if anyone is competing in pageants or even getting ready for a dance competition, I think that Pageant Girl Real World, the devotional and prayer journal, is a really great tool to just kind of think through those things and process them without putting yourself in this mindset of compare instead of embrace who I am, embrace who I am, embrace who I am.
Yeah, those affirmations are definitely needed.
Yes, yes,
So tell us about your nonprofit, iShapeMe.
yes. iShapeMe is my 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it was founded from my experiences with lack of confidence and self esteem. And it has grown into something so much more than our first event, which was during my senior year of high school. It was a sleepover at my church. We were just going to talk about confidence, and I invited someone to do a fitness party exercise Zumba thing with the girls, and I invited someone else to come and speak about hygiene and body image and talk about dressing appropriately and all those things. So that's what I put together at 17. That was our first sleepover. I thought maybe 20 girls would come, and we had over 80 girls show up to that sleepover. And it
Wow.
just let me know, yes, it was incredible
Where'd you have a sleepover for 80 girls?
at my church's Family Life Center.
Awesome.
It's a huge gym. And so when we saw the registration numbers were at 70 a couple of days before the event, I was like, oh, we definitely got to go to Sam's Club to get all we need for this. But it was amazing. And that became the work that I did on my winter breaks and my spring breaks. Every winter break and spring break, or in the summertime, I would host sleepovers, lock-ins at my church and at other places throughout the state in Columbia. And we would host girls and have those genuine conversations. And at some point, I was like, this has to evolve into something more. And so, my senior year of college, it's funny because every time I'm at like a 4 year, I feel like every 4 years I have like an awakening of something that needs to evolve. But I wrote a mentoring curriculum in my apartment. It was all over the walls in my apartment in college, and I had it broken down into 12 different weeks at one point, and then 20 different weeks. And we have now over 24 topics and lessons and activities that have been developed with professionals to guide girls through any and everything that they are experiencing in middle school, from friendships to cyber safety and, the fact that they're on their phones every day and how to navigate that, to self-esteem and body image and building confidence in themselves, and also to navigate the relationship starting early and to develop emotional intelligence early on. So we have lots of good conversations, and we had our end of year celebration yesterday for the girls that are participating in Greenville, South Carolina. The goal is to continue to grow it. You know, we have Columbia and Greenville, South Carolina. At one point, we had other areas of South Carolina. Continuing to expand that program and have trustworthy mentors in place who are young professionals to
Yeah.
just pour into our college, our middle school age girls, is so important. So that's the work that I do, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And I love that you are giving back in that way to young girls. Say if there's a grown woman who maybe hasn't had that opportunity or didn't have the opportunity growing up and they want to find a mentor, what do you think is the best way to go about finding a mentor? I feel like there's so many opinions about this online about like
Yeah, that's so you said specifically for a grown woman, an adult.
an adult woman. Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. There are so many, if you're in the corporate space, I think it's very different than if you're not in the corporate space, in corporate America. So, in corporate America, it's much easier to find a group of people, an employee resource group, or something that exists already within your company's culture. If that is women at whatever company, or you know an affinity group where there might be African American or Black people, all of those different groups. It's sometimes easy to go within those groups and find women who are at your company that might be seem like they're cool. And I always say, don't just say, "Will you be my mentor?" Instead, invite somebody to coffee, invite them to have a conversation and share how they got to where they are today. That's so much more inviting and appealing to somebody who does have a very busy schedule too, because we're all busy human beings. But if you can invite somebody to coffee and have a sit down and ask them questions about their life and continue to develop a relationship, I think that's way more important than going around and saying, "I asked somebody to be my mentor and they said yes." Okay, well, how are you actively developing that relationship? So as an adult, I think it's very different because ball is kind of in your court to be able to find and develop those relationships. And obviously, there are going to be some women who just take you under their wing that you like. If you're not in a corporate space and you're seeking out mentorship, join an organization, join a group, join a junior league of whatever. There's junior leagues throughout the United States. Join some sort of service focused organization. Join black women in particular have the links. They have Divine Nine sororities. Those are often places that you can find a mentor that already exists within your sphere of influence. So start there. Don't just get on LinkedIn and DM somebody random if you haven't even looked within your own circle.
Yeah. Such great advice. And you talked about your children's book earlier. What was the inspiration behind that?
My children's book was inspired by mentorship, so I'm glad that you asked that question right after this. So, I've had really incredible women who've influenced me, and also men, and some of them aren't necessarily mentors. Some of them are just people who have influenced me, just simply by being and existing and encouraging me along the way. And so I decided that I wanted to explain to children how mentorship works. What is it? Who are mentors? Where can you find them? Where do they exist within your world as a child? And so Joy is going on several journeys, but her first journey is finding a mentor. And so she finds a mentor at the end of the book, but the kids always get excited because they're like, who did she pick? She has all these options. And so that's on them to decide. But I love that we show kids in the book who could potentially be your mentors, from your coaches and your dance teachers, and the women at your church or your community center, or your tutors, or your neighbors. Like, so many different people can be influences in our lives, and I love being able to share that with kids because we all need a positive role model every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, it got me wanting to read it. I just had a nephew a couple months ago and I'm like I want to read to him all the time whenever he's older. So yeah, that's an amazing accomplishment that you've done and written a children's book.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So I know we did. You mentioned the vision boards that we did at the end of last year in 2024 with our lovely friend Elise. Shout out to Elise. And that was for 2025. So I'm curious, how is it going for you? I have mine on my wall and I'm looking at it right now. And it was so much fun, and I'm glad that I got to meet you through that activity. But I'm curious to see, like, how is your vision
I
board going? We're almost halfway through the
literally
year.
I literally just looked at it because I also have it. But it has taught me that again I need to really lean into trusting God's timing. I said that on a panel earlier this year. But I wish that things would have just been checked off, checked off, checked off on that vision board within the first quarter, and that's just not how it works. We have to learn how to trust God's timing. So I am still working through so many of those things, but I am being intentional about getting back into fitness for fun. I am being intentional about my faith being the first thing that I focus on in the morning to start my day. That's been my thing for the last couple of years, but spending even more time in my word and being intentional about my faith. Everybody's going to have their own, version of faith, but that's been intentional for I've been intentional about that. So I would say that the vision board is coming together, but it definitely ain't together yet.
Well, you still got, yeah, yeah, you got to give yourself some grace,
We
like you said.
still
I
have
think
July to December.
we still have, yeah, June to December. Well, your June, I know is going to be busy, but
Yeah.
so what is the main goal that you're looking forward to achieving this year? Like, if you had to choose one, what would that be?
Ooh, figuring out how my passions align with the next steps in my career. That's really one of the main things because I know for a fact that I am a multi hyphenate. I'm not meant to do the same thing all day, every day, all week. I know that all of us have many interests. And many of us are like, yeah, I have other interests too. Yes. But some of us are also career people and have one career thing that we can like lock in and laser on. I've never even done that in my years as a young adult. And so I am always trying to find ways to embrace being a true multi hyphenate, someone who has a million moving parts and just embracing what that looks like moving forward. So yeah.
Do you want to do that? Like, you want to be a true multi-hyphenate. You don't want to just stick to one thing. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have no intention
Yeah.
of ever doing one thing.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting. Lastly, before we get into some just rapid fire questions, what do your, like, now that you've given up your crown of Miss South Carolina and you're looking forward to what's next, what do your days look like now? You're such a busy girl. I just want to know what's next for Jada Samuel, and just talk about, like, you know, I guess what do your days look like now?
Well, I've been done with my time as Miss South Carolina for almost a year now. So I'm almost a year post crown, or into my retirement from pageant land. And I had slow moments for a while, immediately after, where I was like, I went from being really, really, really booked to not having anything on my calendar at all. And that felt weird, but now I am serving on more boards than I would like to share out loud, but I am definitely someone who has a servant's heart, so I don't mind serving on those boards. I am running multiple businesses and side hustles um, for sure, and figuring out what I want to do, creating some things that have been in my Google Drive for a while, like my pageant devotional, all of those things, just bringing things to life that I've thought about for years. And so every day is different. I always feel like I look at my calendar at the beginning of the week and I go, oh, whoa, this is a little bit more busy than I thought. But
That's that multi-hyphenate.
in the best of ways, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're going to get into some rapid fire questions right now,
Okay.
and they're just really quick questions. You just spit out whatever the first thing that comes to mind is.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so first one is sash or crown? Which one are you grabbing in a fire?
Sash.
Ooh, okay. What's your guilty pleasure TV show?
I'm so bad at
Do you even
watching.
have watching? Do you even have time to watch TV?
All American. Yeah, all American would be my guilty pleasure. Like I would never tell anybody that out loud. Oh, well, I mean, I just did. Whoever listens to this podcast. But yeah, all American. It's trashy teeny TV, like romance. Yeah, like yeah, count me in. Like yeah, I'm
It,
falling asleep to that.
it's so good though. It's a really good story.
Yeah.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Uh, probably so. It depends on the crowd. If it's a hip hop crowd, I'm definitely doing something J. Cole for 1000% doing something J. Cole. I'm going bar for bar. If it is an R&B crowd, if it's like somebody like my mom's age, I'm doing Tony Braxton. Like I
No,
love
that's right.
Tony Braxton. So I'm doing He Wasn't Man Enough by Tony Braxton.
Wait, what's your J. Cole song?
It could be anything. If it's like my friend group, I'm gonna go like mixtape J. Cole or um I I anything. I would just be like pick one and I'm good.
Got
Pick
you.
one for me. Pick a beat.
What's the one beauty product that you can't live without?
Moisturizer. I said I have eczema. I have to have a really good moisturizer underneath my makeup. So probably an Aquaphor stick that I'm putting up under my hydro primer.
Amen. What's your current phone wallpaper?
It is a scripture and a quote that says, "May the flowers remind us why the rain was necessary."
Oh, love that. So deep.
It's May, so
Yeah, it rained a lot in May.
May the flowers. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh yeah. Of course, the flowers in May. My birthday's in May. I should know that. Who is your dream celebrity to have as a pageant coach?
Probably Elaine Welteroth. She was the former editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, and I think she's absolutely brilliant. And she is someone who I admire for being a multi-hyphenate, a true multi-hyphenate. She has a nonprofit, like I said, was former editor-in-chief of Teen Vogue, so she's still a journalist. She was on air as a host. So a lot of the things that I've done in my life and career so far have kind of aligned with things she's done. So I would either pick Elaine or Cammie Crawford, who used to be the Catfish host.
Yeah.
She was Miss Teen USA back in her day. I hung out with her and had dinner with her and another friend in LA. And she's just like so bold and unapologetic. So I want that kind of energy. So I might choose her or Elaine. Yeah.
She's so cool. I listen to her podcast,
Yes.
she's just unapologetically herself and so real too.
Yes.
On average, how many monologues have you done?
12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not too many in my life, like one a year.
That is a lot, though, seems like. Number one piece of advice for answering an onstage question. Kind of talked about it earlier.
Calm down, look at an exit sign.
Best piece of advice you have ever received and the worst advice you have ever received.
Best piece of advice, breathe in confidence, exhale fear. Worst piece of advice, change your gown. Why?
Right. I picked this for a reason. What would you say is your best monologue that you've ever done?
It is a piece called Amazing Grace on the Emmanuel AME shooting in Charleston, South Carolina, where Dylan Roof took the lives of 9 innocent people. So yeah, that one.
Is that one on YouTube? I don't think I've seen that
It
one.
is. It
Okay.
is.
To go back and watch that one. And then lastly, this podcast is called the Imperfect Cheerleader Podcast. So what makes you imperfect?
What makes me imperfect is that I am a hot mess 99% of the time, and I have to be a type A person on the front end because I am a type B person on the back end, and everything is always all over the place. So, yeah. That's what
So
makes me
real.
imperfect.
So real. And I lied. I lied. That was the last question, but where can people find you and follow you and see everything that you have going on?
People can find me on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at Jada, Jada Samuel on all platforms. And I hope that you follow me there. Everything else is going to be linked in those bios there. So, yeah, if you find me there, you can find everything.
Amazing. Thank you, Jada, so much for coming on to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. I had a blast. I hope you did too. And I just can't wait until people can hear this and follow you along in your journey and everything you have going on.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag @theprofessionalcheerleader on Instagram. We love to repost your tags and shout you out in our stories. Number 3, write a review. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps us bring on even better guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, or night, wherever you may be, and are continuing to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or just someone who loves to move. I'll see you later on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Toodles for now.